By now, you've all heard that Disney is doing live-action remakes of literally anything they possibly can. They already butchered Lion King, but next on the chopping block is Mulan. Based on the reviews, Mulan 2020 not only failed to even compete with the original animated Mulan, it took a good animated film and ruined it. Just looking at scenes side by side, the live-action remake looks like they sucked the magic out of it. Not only does it look worse, it runs longer by half an hour. So we have a dulled-down live-action remake that also drags on for longer. It's pretty clear that this live-action remake was rushed a lot more than previous Disney films, and I think that's why the quality of the remake to begin with is just mediocre. The remake was not received well by audiences either. It sits behind lower than average ratings, failing to even come close to the 7.6 on IMDb the 1998 Mulan currently sits at. I find this review written by a humble Omar Khan really quite descriptive of how audiences received Mulan 2020. 2020 was a year full of difficult moments. None of these painful moments, however, were as agonizing as the 90 minutes that one has to endure to get to the roll of credits of this sad reboot of what otherwise would have been remembered as a Disney all-time favorite. Now, I'm sure this billion-dollar company doesn't mind a few bad reviews, but Mulan kicked Disney where it hurt because Mulan was a complete box office flop. It cost Disney $200 million to make this movie, and they only generated $43.8 million in the US box office, and the weekend it debuted in China, it flopped with only $23 million. It's pretty clear that this movie failed both financially and in the eyes of the audience, but what exactly happened to make Mulan fail? Well, sit your chubby booty down because, my friends, it's about to get political. Disney's Mulan faced an incredibly challenging uphill battle laced with controversy. This is why Mulan 2020 failed. I'm not even sure where to start, but everything was working against Disney when it came to this live-action remake. With the global COVID-19 pandemic, movie studios everywhere are struggling to captivate audiences without access to movie theaters, and Disney is no exception. I think the first hurdle Mulan faced was the fact it was being released during a pretty tough time for the world. Let's be honest, who would even go into a movie theater right now, even if they were open? I mean, one person's cough is scarier than any horror movie you could possibly be watching. Seriously though, plenty of movies have succeeded despite COVID-19. So whereas COVID played a role in Mulan's failure, it only played a small role. There were much bigger forces at play. Since COVID pushed Mulan out of theaters pretty quickly, Disney decided to instead release it on Disney Plus for all Disney Plus subscribers, plus an additional $30. Are we beginning to identify why this movie may have failed? I mean, bruh, come on, $30? That's more than it would cost to watch the movie in theaters and get a large popcorn. Okay, no, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. A small popcorn. But Disney isn't all too concerned about how this movie is gonna perform in the US. Disney is so cucked for China, they bent over backwards to try and accommodate this film for Chinese audiences. Now that the Chinese market is more important to a film's broader box office success, more and more studios try and appeal their films to China. Disney went above and beyond to make this happen. They redesigned the remake, starting from scratch in order to appease not only Chinese audiences, but the Chinese government and censors as well. Disney even went as far as to have the script pre-approved by the Chinese government, and the reason they cast Yifi Liu as Mulan is because of her popularity in China. Despite all of this cucking, China didn't really care for the movie, and a lot of the reason for that is Disney's fault. Before the film was even released, Chinese audiences along with American audiences were pushing for a boycott of this movie. Yeah, it seems Disney's choice to cast the popular Chinese chick backfired. You see, back in 2019, Hong Kong proposed an amendment that would extradite criminals to mainland China. It's pretty complicated, but Hong Kong has been able to exist with nearly complete autonomy, allowing it to become a much more westernized location. The The people of Hong Kong saw this potential amendment as the beginning of the end of their region's autonomy. This sparked massive protests, and police were sent to control the rioting, engaging in severe police brutality against protesters. In the midst of this chaos, here comes little ol' Yifei Liu to comment on the situation and support the police. She posted on the Chinese app Weibo, "I support the Hong Kong police. You can all attack me now. What a shame for Hong Kong." Understandably, watching a rich and privileged actress support the police engaging in brutality against people fighting for democracy pissed off a few people. This angered people across the world, not only the Chinese, but Hong Kong activists and Americans as well. Many Americans, especially conservatives, came out in huge support of the Hong Kong protesters and encouraged others to boycott Mulan. I do find this pretty ironic, considering plenty of these same right-wingers shit on American protesters fighting for democracy and oftentimes falling victim to police brutality. A good example of this comes from fascist Barbie doll Lauren Chen, who tweeted her support for the Hong Kong protesters and then called for the feds to be released on American protesters, even going as far as to call them animals. It stinks like hypocrisy in here. Anyway, Disney was greeted with a PR nightmare because of the comments made by this bitchy little statist. To make matters worse, they had no choice but to just hope that the controversy died down before the film's release, because Disney is so cucked for China, they couldn't issue a statement on the matter because it might offend the Chinese government. To make matters worse, word quickly got around that portions of the film were shot in a part of China where Muslims are currently being held in concentration camps. It's a serious human rights violation, and the fact Disney filmed in the location for their movie wasn't received well by global audiences. Now, if they had just filmed there, then maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but no, it got worse, because at the end of the movie, Disney literally thanked this oppressive region of China and the police for making the filming possible. Well, way to go, Disney. You tried so hard to kiss the ass of China, you brushed aside human rights violations and thanked this oppressive government. But my friends, Disney really shot itself in the foot with this one. Because the controversy surrounding the fact that Disney thanked the oppressive region, China went ahead and banned media coverage of Mulan in China. Disney worked their butt off trying to appease China with this film, only to make people so mad, China banned the media coverage of the film. Talk about karma. Man, I guess being a cuck doesn't always pay off. All this mess obviously contributed to Mulan's failure in China, and despite its decent start, according to The Atlantic, by the second week in China, Mulan's grosses dropped a disastrous 72%. This movie failed, largely because of Disney. First, they released the movie for an additional fee on the streaming service you already have to pay for. Secondly, in an attempt to grab the Chinese box office success, they cast Yifei Liu, only to have her support the police brutality occurring in Hong Kong and pissing everyone off. Then, in a further attempt to appease China, they filmed in an oppressive region and thanked the oppressive region. This controversy led to media coverage of Mulan being banned in the country. All of these factors played together to create the massive controversy that led to the complete failure of Mulan 2020. Well, I guess we learned some valuable lessons today, kids. Number 1, don't be a cuck. Number 2, oppression is bad and we shouldn't thank oppressors, and don't pretend to care about police brutality when it happens in Hong Kong and then downplay police brutality in America. All I can say is poor Disney. I feel so bad for them that this film flopped. Man, how will this multi-billion-dollar company ever recover? Thanks everybody for watching. Please give this video a like, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.